Howdy Ho YouTube, Jon-Luke VGC here. Today we're going to do something slightly different. As you know, it is currently the World Championships. And this is coming out on Friday night. That means I think we have seen the first day of Worlds battles already begin. I didn't really feel like another battle video was particularly useful at this point in time. So I am instead going to be doing everybody's favorite, a tier list, something I've never done before on the channel, but I thought might be kind of interesting as we begin to close out Regulation I and enter Regulation J and H. Now, I could do a tier list on the Mythicals in Regulation J. I just don't have enough experience with them. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have the wherewithal or the know-how to make that kind of tier list. It would be basically guesswork the entire time. If you want me to do that, I can. Like, I'll absolutely make one if that's what people want. So let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do that, or if you want me to make more content like this. But I do have a lot of experience in Regulation H, since I did, compete in a regional with it. I did tournaments with it, all of that kind of stuff. And so with the Regulation H at the end of 2024 was kind of going through an interesting transition, where I think if the meta had continued, it would look different than it did at the end of the series. So I'm going to take that into account, and I'm going to rank all of the Regulation H Pokemon that had a percentage usage higher than 1%. That's 62 Pokemon, and I'm going to take them and I'm going to rank them S through F. And kind of thinking of how the meta was shifting at the end of that time. So a little refresher, basically after Toronto, which was the final major event of Regulation H, Wolf won with Perish Trap. I don't really think Perish Trap is an archetype that you need to be incredibly prepared for, because frankly, nobody else is going to play it as well as Wolf Glick. But it's something you have to keep in the back of your mind. So I will kind of keep that archetype there. But I'm really going to be thinking about three primary archetypes when we're talking, or four, I guess, really, when we're talking about if I think these Pokemon are going to be good. The first one is Classic Rain. Archaludon, Basculegion, Pelipper, that kind of stuff. That was prominent in the beginning of Regulation H, and it never really stopped. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about when I talk about these Pokemon. I'm going to be thinking about original balance, Garchomp, Alolan Ninetales, Annihilate. That kind of balanced team was good in the beginning, stayed okay, kind of fell to the wayside a little bit, but was still ultimately something you needed to be prepared for. And what was coined at the end of Regulation H, Doug Balance. So if you don't know, Doug stands for Dragonite, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Goldengo. And it was basically these balance comps around those three Pokemon. They would often include things like Incineroar or Clefairy, something like that. But it would usually always be Life Orb, Nasty Plot, Goldango, Assault Vest, Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and Scale Shot, Loaded Dice, Dragonite. It would be something like that. So you could switch things around. Like, I've seen some odd stuff. Like, I remember specifically at the end, my win in at Toronto, I faced Focus Sash, Blood Moon, Ursaluna, a couple things like that. So there is some play to that. But when I talk about Doug Balance, that's what I'm talking about. Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo. So enough with the yap and schmacking. Let's go ahead and get into the tier list. So I have, in no particular order, the top all Pokemon that have higher than a 1% usage. It's 62 individual Pokemon. So let's kind of take a look and tier these Pokemon. So Charizard I think is good. I mean, for the power level, it's solid. For its stats are good. It showed it had really great power potential with Marco Silva's team, with the Eject Pack, Helping Hand, Torkoal, Jumpluff stuff. Overall, I do think that because that team was so prominent, there's now been ingrained a lot of counterplay into it. I'm interested to see if Silva continues to use that team, or if people like Joe Ugarte continue to play sleep strats. But ultimately, I would put Charizard in A tier. I think it's good. I do think it's pretty hard carried by player skill. But I think ultimately, in the sun, Helping Hand boosted Heat Wave, just go burr, and I can't discredit that in any meaningful way. Okay, Alolan Ninetales, I would also probably put in A tier above Charizard. There was a few different sets, if you remember, in Regulation H that I thought were particularly useful. Things It started out with like specs, if you remember that. People were using specs Ninetales with Blizzard Freeze Dry, that kind of stuff, and that was pretty good. That was in the time when you had like Garchomp Ninetales balance stuff. And then later on, you got more of the like Covert Cloak or the Focus Sash with the Aurora Veil, you know, kind of the bulkier things with maybe a secondary Blizzard user. You had like Sand Cloak, or like, what was it? Bright Powder, Snow Cloak, Glaceon. You could use that kind of stuff. So overall, I think Alola Ninetales high A tier for me personally. I think it's really, really good. I wouldn't quite put it in S tier because its typing isn't amazing. You know, Quad Weak to Steel and Golden Go is such a powerhouse. Makes it a little scary, but overall, and it can't really deal damage back to Golden Go. I think it's pretty good. Annihilate is A tier about to be really, really full. I would also put Annihilate in A tier. Or is it like low S tier? That's a good question. So let's think about how well it did. You saw it a lot on rain compositions because if you had Mouse Hole for beat up for Archaludon, you could also use it for Annihilate, but it would have to specifically be beat up Mouse Hold, not Population Bomb. I used it when I took it to Toronto. I don't necessarily want to say that it's S tier. At the end of Regulation H, if you remember, you saw new sets pop up like Max Speed, Max Attack, Jolly, Focus Sash with like Taunt. So it would be like Close Combat, Rage Fist, Taunt, Protect, or something like that. You would see those sets start to pop up near the end of original Regulation H. So I think the development of Annihilate was not quite done yet. I don't want to put it in S tier, although I do think it's an incredibly good Pokemon. I'm interested to see kind of some more usage out of it later on to kind of see how good we get. Okay, now not A tier. Isui and Arcanine I think is good, but with the prominence of things like Garchomp, and Blood Moon or Saluna, I think it really kind of has to fill a niche. I'd put it like high. Let's see. I'm going to stick it in high C tier right now. I think its typing's good. I think its stats are good. Well, actually, its typing's not that good, but I think its stats are good, and I think it has a lot of utility that you can use it for, but overall, I'm not super duper in love. At least I personally have never really used this Pokemon to any sort of serious play. But I do think later on, as I get more Pokemon in the list, I haven't really like prepped what I'm going to say for any of these Pokemon. I might adjust and move it up to B tier. I do think there's an argument to move it up to B tier. Okay, so I did unobtrusively just select all Pokemon with higher than 1% usage. So there are going to be some interesting Pokemon, primarily the interesting Pokemon popularized by Wolf Glick, of course. So we do have Politoed. Politoed, I think, is good for sure. I mean, it sets up the rain. It's a little bulkier than Pelipper, which is pretty important. But its damage output is similar, I guess, but the flying type on Pelipper for that flying stab with Hurricane is pretty fantastic. Overall, I'm not mad at Politoed, but I'm not super duper convinced. Okay, I think I do want to put Harkonine low B, and I'm going to put Politoed high C tier. Like, that would be, so this will be at the bottom of B tier, just because I think Harkonine's better than Politoed personally, but I don't necessarily think Politoed should be in D tier, but I don't necessarily see these two as in being in the exact same tier. We have Galarian Weezing. Again, Wolf Glick popularized this Pokemon. I think it's pretty solid. Fairy typing in Regulation H in general, I think, is incredibly good. I would put this, again, in B tier probably. I think regular Weezing, if it is or was on this list, would not be this high, but I think the fairy typing alone puts it higher than Politoed because fairy types are so rare in this regulation and their damage is incredibly important into things like, you know, Scale Shot, Dragonite, Garchomp, that kind of stuff that I do. And plus its typing helps against like opposing Sneasler. Overall, I think it's really, really good. Good enough. Kingdra, I think, is solid enough. I'm going to put it with C tier. I mean, it's kind of the same as Politoed. It fills a niche on a specific kind of team that Wolf Glick popularized. But overall, I'm not super convinced that its damage and output, although its bulk isn't bad for sure. I wish it got more accurate moves. Or that there were more accurate water type spread moves that weren't surf, you know, that hit everything on the field. Okay. So now we're getting to a couple of Pokemon that I'm really, really convinced into, and some specifics that I'm going to talk about here. So we have Electabuzz and Magmar, and I'm actually not a lot of people, I think, when they make these tier lists, would immediately put these two Pokemon in the same rank. I don't agree with that. I think that they serve similar purposes, but I certainly think one overall is better than the other one, and I'm full-heartedly going to say that Electabuzz is better than Magmar. And the main reason is that you're mainly... Okay, so both of them get Vital Spirit to stop sleep. And you're going to redirect things like Spore from Amoonguss with Follow Me, and you're going to redirect Dire Claw from Sneasler. However, Magmar is not immune to the paralysis option from Dire Claw because it is not an electric type. And the fire typing makes it weaker into rain comps, which I do think is a little bit of a problem. Electabuzz from Dire Claw can only get poisoned if you have the Vital Spirit ability, which I think is really, really fantastic. And into Archaludon, it resists 2 of the 3 moves that it's normally going to have, Electroshot and Flash Cannon. Both are neutral to Dragon Pulse and Body Press, but ultimately I think that is really, really good. So I'm actually going to put Electabuzz high B tier, like super, like top B tier. I think, like, maybe, okay, we're going to put Electabuzz actually low A tier, like super low A tier. I think it's good. Its natural offenses are fine with moves like Thunderbolt. If you run it on a rain comp, you can actually just run Thunder to get that 100% accurate, super powerful electric type move. And then I would put Magmar in high B tier for sure, right? I want this like this way. I don't think they deserve to be in the same tier. I just think some of the specific utility, like you get speed control with Electabuzz or Electroweb if you want that. You don't get that through Magmar. You can also get Thunder Wave. I mean, you get Will-O-Wisp here, but it's not really quite the same. They don't serve the same purpose. I think Electabuzz is actually quite good, and I'm excited to see it flourish again in Regulation H. And I don't think Magmar is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it's at the same level as Electabuzz. Okay, we have Paldean Tauros, the fire one specifically, was the one that was over. I'm going to put this in D tier, honestly. It's like fine. It's like Incineroar, but worse. I think the dark typing is better, especially for things like Grimmsnarl and Whimsicott. So it's kind of cool. It gets the Intimidate, or you get the Anger Point or whatever, but ultimately I'm not particularly convinced by this Pokemon. I would need to see more. Porygon 2, S tier. Easy. End of discussion. I've seen tweets that are like, you want to win in Reg H? Have Porygon 2 on the field. Yeah, Porygon 2 is an S tier Pokemon with the Eviolite. It is insane. If you get the special attack boost, you also have a Mon that can deal significant damage. It goes stupid. I don't know why, but it's really, really good S tier style Pokemon. I anticipate that we're going to be seeing even more of this Pokemon, even though we saw plenty of it, again, on like Marco Silva. You would see it on Doug Balance sometimes. Kind of an interesting like Trick Room option if you needed it. So overall, yeah, I think it's an excellent Pokemon. Dragonite. Okay, so I'm gonna put S tier. I'm gonna put S tier, Dragonite S tier as well. My reasoning for that is that, yes, okay, so near the end we saw primarily the Diluted Dice Scale Shot set, but throughout the regulation, Dragonite had a lot of different options. There was the Paltua Lumberry, Terra Flying Terra Blast. You could also see that with Assault Vest. It was really good. You have the Loaded Dice. You have Choice Band. Like, there's so many different options for this Pokemon, and particularly in Best of 1, it's hard to cover for all of those. So overall, I think this Pokemon has a lot of potential. If I had to pick a personal favorite set, I really like the Assault Vest set. I think it's super good. You can EV this thing to survive Ice Beams. They're just dumb. Like, it's a 4 times effective move, stab on some mons, and it can live it. Like, it's so good. I think Dragonite is up here in S tier for sure. Okay, we have Hisuian Typhlosion now. So this was primarily like an eruption bot, really fast, can't fake it out. But I think the counterplay to this thing became super duper prominent. I'm gonna put it in like mid B tier. It's definitely lower than Magmar, but probably higher than Hisuian Arcanine personally. Would kind of be my guess. It has a lot of utility, especially in Best of 1 because you can use Frisk. You can pair it with Weezing because it doesn't really care about losing its ability, that kind of stuff. Overall, it's solid. It's a good enough Pokemon. You know what it does, but the counterplay to it, I will admit, is pretty easy. And especially as a Scarfmon, it's not as fast as you necessarily want it to be. I think it has to run Timid in order to outspeed Dragapult with a Choice Scarf, which is meh, you know? We have Murkrow. Murkrow is fine. They're a better Eviolite Pokemon, I want to say. I'm going to put it C tier, but like Golden Go, you know, Murkrow is pretty good. There are some other Tailwind setters you want, though. Probably like Whimsicott. Maybe C tier higher than... there we go. Seems interesting. C tier for sure. Probably higher than Politoed and Kingdra. Again, if you're not Wolf Glick, I don't think any of us are using these to the level that we should be, but overall I'm not particularly upset at them. But I just think Murkrow has more utility with things like Haze. Again, there are better Haze users out there, ones that we're going to probably talk about a little bit later. Okay, so Farigiraf really excels in two ways, either setup-oriented metas or high-power metas that otherwise become quite the challenge. I don't know if it's really great at countering the fake-out bros, which I find interesting, but I don't know how prominent those are in these lower power formats. You don't see a ton of like Rillaboom and Cineroar balance necessarily. You'll see one of those two Pokemon on a lot of teams, but you even see like Loaded Dice, Bullet Seed, Rillaboom and Regulation H, some of those kind of that stuff. So maybe I'm a little unsold on where I should put Farigiraf. I think it's still good, and it could even be an offensive threat, a la Wolf Glick. Probably put it B tier, higher than... This feels okay. This feels okay right now. I'm not sold on its placement in B tier, but overall I still think it's a pretty good Pokemon and something that we need to keep our eye on. Sneasler. I hate them on, but come on, like, you gotta admit, it's really good, you know? If this was a list on how angry these Pokemon make me, it would be in the exact same spot. Don't get me wrong. But top of S tier. Dire Claw's broken. Please, Game Freak, get rid of it or nerf it or something. Oh my god, I hate it so much. It's so terrible. I'm not a fan. I don't want to talk about this Pokemon anymore. Okay, we got the Ursalunas, and they are different. But I still think they would both be in S tier. Personally. The base form Ursaluna higher than Blood Moon Ursaluna. I mean, it does so much damage. You know, with Porygon, like right now, you get rid of the second Ursaluna. These four are a team. This is like an incredibly good team. You know what I mean? Fake Out, Trick Room, all of that kind of stuff. Tailwind if you want it here. These four Pokemon are super, super good. You're going to see a bunch of top people use them in tournaments. And this is still good, especially at the end with Doug Valance. When people started throwing Assault Vest on it, it gained a lot of utility through that, especially with something like Vacuum Wave. So you get that priority move that this Ursaluna doesn't. It's really good. And I don't think it was explored enough. It started out super strong in the beginning, weighing down a lot, and we were on a peak. But overall, I think we're going to see a lot more from Blood Moon Ursaluna in the second round of Regulation H. And I'm actually kind of excited for that. Smeargle, I think, excels a lot in incredibly high-power formats where you want to introduce as much variance as possible. That's why we're seeing a lot in things like Regulation I and Regulation J. In some of these lower-power formats, I am less convinced of its utility because things like Sand become more prevalent. You're going to have more Amoonguss answers because you can't get rid of Amoonguss, which makes Smeargle a little less useful, you know? Ultimately, I'm unconvinced by Smeargle in these lower power formats, so I'm going to put it here at the bottom of D tier. Not to say that it's bad, but to say that it's the sense of variance that it adds doesn't have as much value as you would see in some of these higher power formats. Okay, we have Tyranitar, which sits the Sand. That's pretty good. Overall, it's solid. 4 times weak to fighting is not great, but I mean, come on. I'm going to put it A tier for sure. I think I want it higher than Charizard, but I don't want it higher than Electabuzz. So I think ultimately, like, I'd put it maybe somewhere around here. Setting Sand is really good to help out into the rain situation, although I think Sun would just be a better setting weather. So, and we'll see that a little bit later. At 4 times weak to fighting is fine. I mean, it's gotten around that all the time. You can just Terra out of that, which you're probably going to want to do anyways, but it really does help counter some other things like Sun. So ultimately, I think it's good, and it deserves to be up here. Its stats are great. Its typing is good in some instances and absolutely atrocious in other, but overall, I think it's a really solid choice. Pelipper, top of A tier. It's not S tier. Is it S tier? I don't know. It's either high A tier or low S tier. I'm trying not to just dwell on these Pokemon too long. I don't want to just sit here for 5 minutes considering everything about it. I love Pelipper. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time for sure. And you could probably make an argument for low S tier, I would say, but and the reason that I don't put it higher is because it alone is not incredible. It enables other Pokemon to do incredible things, i.e. Basculegion and Archaludon. So I'm less set on the fact that like, oh, Pelipper's so amazing, it's this incredible Pokemon. No, it enables other Pokemon, so that's why I don't think it deserves such a high placement as that, because in theory, there are other ways to get rain up, and a better rain option could come along, and Pelipper would immediately go by the wayside. That's my reasoning behind that. Gallade, we started to see at the end with Trick Room. It's pretty good, like with Clear Amulet to help stop Incineroar, some of that kind of stuff. I'm going to put it high B tier. I don't necessarily know if we had the exploration for it yet in order to make that happen, to get it into the A tier, but I definitely think by the end of Regulation H 2.0, it could be an A tier level Pokemon for sure. I just don't think we know enough about it and haven't done enough with it to really make that shake. Sableye is D tier for sure. It's got Prankster, it's kind of funny, it does the silly stuff, but its stats aren't great, its typing's like meh. Overall, I'm not super duper convinced on this bad boy. I wouldn't really recommend using it. I think it being over 1% is too high for this thing. It's really for the gimmicks, and that's really all you want to use it for. Torkoal is definitely an A tier style Pokemon. I would put it right with Charizard. Some might make the argument for that it's similar. Well, actually, in that instance, then I want to put it higher than Pelipper. Actually, I'm going to put it A tier. I want it higher than Pelipper, and the reasoning for that is, my complaint with Pelipper was that it doesn't do anything super duper amazing. It kind of just enables other Pokemon. Torkoal does do that, but it can be the sweeper if you want it to be, i.e. Trick Room plus Eruption. So I think it's super good. I think getting that Trick Room set up off is easier and better than something like Hisuian Typhlosion, because Drought is a really, really good ability. So I do want it higher, and I would put these two really, really close, but because it can also act as your sweeper, and yes, Pelipper can do a lot of damage, but if you take the weather away, it gets significantly worse all of a sudden, while Eruption is still going to hit as long as it's not in rain. So that's why I think I want it here. Okay, Milotic. So I am a pretty big Milotic believer. Milotic, being from Gen 3, is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. And I don't think it was explored enough in Regulation H. I want to see more from it. Overall, I would put it in high C tier, low B tier. I'm going to move it up to B tier because of personal bias, because I like this Pokemon, but I think you can make the argument for high C tier as well. We just haven't seen enough from it, but I certainly think this Pokemon has the opportunity to be really, really good. I wish Coil, because Coil raises attack, defense, and accuracy, I think. If Coil just like raised something else, like not attack, this bond would be incredible, because setup was really, really prominent in Regulation H. So I guess if we got a rework of Coil, it would be super cool, but otherwise, yeah, I'm not. I want it to be better. I want it to be better, and I do think that there is opportunity for that. Okay, Salamence, I would put high B tier for sure. Again, making an argument, you could make an argument for A tier, but if you want a Hurricane user, just use Pelipper because it sets up the rain for you as well, and doubling up on these types doesn't feel super great because it is still neutral to electric type moves, and I'm not super amazing huge on that, but it's good. It does what it needs it to. Once it gets a Mega, it'll go up here, but for now it stays down in the upper echelons of B tier. Gastrodon is high C tier for sure. Rillaboom exists, and that's all that matters. I don't really want to use my Terra on Gastrodon personally, but it is good. Its typing is good. If literally Rillaboom wasn't there, it would shoot up like 2 tiers. But because Rillaboom exists and you can just pick it off with a Grassy Glide, or you have to use your Terra on it, I'm not super duper in love with it. Outside of like, I need a rain counter on this team. Okay, I'm going to slot in a Gastrodon. Garchomp is good. I would put it A tier, probably lower than the weather setters, but higher than most of the other stuff. Stats are solid. It's got good bulk. It's decently fast. You give it a life orb and it's going to do all the damage you need it to. I'm not really mad at it. I personally don't get how to use Garchomp. I've tried a couple of times now and I've had moderate success, but nothing amazing. But overall, yeah, it's fine enough. goes there. Hey, I don't need you. Excadrill, C tier. Lower than Murkrow for sure. I'll stick it there. No F tier Pokemon yet, but we might get there. I mean, I don't think we'll get any F tier Pokemon. I should also preface that this is going to be in relation to each other, not necessarily like overall. But so I don't. We might definitely get some F tier Pokemon here, but we'll see. I am pretty unconvinced on Excadrill. Its damage really lacks. The Sand Rush ability is cool, but it's inaccurate. Overall, it's just like it gets outclassed by other ground types. Something that I don't like. Just run one of the Ursalunas, run a Garchomp, run high horsepower on T-Tar. I think you're just gonna get a better option there. Whimsicott, because Sneasler exists, it's okay. I'd have to put it like low A tier, maybe. I think is where I put it. Prankster's good. Encore locking is good, especially with a setup heavy meta like Regulation H. But overall, and Fairy coverage is also good. And again, it enables the Sun Pokemon overall. So yeah, I think A tier-ish. Again, I could like move it later, but for right now, I think low A tier is pretty good for Whimsicott. So Hisui and Lilligant, I'm gonna put low C tier. It does one thing. You click Sleep Powder and you hope, or you click after you Eruption, and those are the two things. And that is so easy to have counterplay against. It's such a linear Pokemon. Those are the only sets you see. You're not doing anything else. I'm just not super impressed by it. I also don't like sleep strats personally, so there is some personal bias in that, but it's my tier list of my videos, so that's what we're doing. All right, Basculegion. Upper A tier for sure. We saw a lot. I would say it's higher. These three, I'm going to put it here because it's like these three are like right next to each other. Again, it had a lot of utility. You would see like Doug Balance with Choice Scarf Basculegion, with Technician. You could see obviously Swift Swim on Rain teams. But outside, and those are two really good, really versatile sets, honestly. So I think it deserves to be up here. But I don't think it's an S tier Pokemon because it can get intimidated. Its damage output was good, but especially if you were running on Swift Swim teams and you get rid of the raid, okay, it's not doing amazing, you know. But I do think maybe there's still some play to kind of figure out exactly what we want Basculegion. Amoonguss, my king, my goat, my love. It's an S tier Pokemon. Always is, always will be. You have to respect it every single time. I love it. Is it better? I mean, it can put Sneasler to sleep. It can stop Trick Room this. It can clear Smog this. Like, you know what I mean? It's great. I love Amoonguss. It's super duper good. Chandelure, I'd put high D tier probably. Its typing gets super hardwalled by Incineroar. You can just Sucker Punch it. You have so many options to kind of stop it. I think it's good. Flash Fire is good, but I think if you're going to run them on like that, you just want to use Armarouge because then you get the Psy spam option as well. So I'm a little less convinced on Chandelure. Don't tell Jordy VGC. King Gambit. Okay. Now we're getting to some of the reels, you know? Got just a couple rows left. King Gambit is good. 4 times weak to fighting still. Defiant is really great in a meta where Incineroar runs rampant. It doesn't really like rain or sun. It usually only runs dark type moves. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I like this one more than I like Tyranitar, for sure. I think that means that I want to put Charizard. No, I think I still want this. I think this is still fine. You're not really ever mad about using your Terra on King Gambit. You set up a Swords Dance and Sucker Punch is still doing over 50% to bulky resisted hits. Like, it goes kind of stupid. So I'm not really actually going to be. You can even EV it to survive a close combat after Terra with Terra Dark. It does a lot. Sorry. All this talking, all this oxygen getting in. We have Hydreigon, We didn't really see much Hydreigon near the end of Regulation H. I would see some Assault Vest sets. You know, you could see Specs. I remember Jordy made a team that got featured by Cybertron featuring Specs Hydreigon. That was pretty cool. Overall, its typing is okay, but quad weak to Fairy in a world where like Alola and Ninetales exists. I mean, you would see a lot of Terra Fire on it though. I'm gonna put it high C tier. I think it's good for sure. If I'm gonna put Hydreigon high C tier, I'm gonna move Milotic down to under it because I think it's well. On that point, then I should actually put Hydreigon here. I'm gonna knock down Milotic to high C tier. Yeah. I think that's fine. It's a good Pokemon, but I think some of it's, you know, a lot of, you know, Sneasler, Annihilate, all that stuff. Like, it just gets countered really, really well. Volcarona, I actually think was underexplored in Regulation H, although it was done really well. I think it's a low A tier, high B tier Pokemon. I think it's better than these for sure. I mean, we saw like Terra Fairy, Terra Blast sets. You could just go for standard Terra Grass, Giga Drain, Quiver Dance. You could use it as utility, redirection. Overall, it's really good. I like it. I want to put it somewhere in A tier, but I'm not super sold on exactly where. Okay, Talonflame. I'm going to put high C tier. Probably here-ish seems about right. Or high B tier. Stat-wise, it lacks. Getting the nerf to Gale Wings is okay. And it doesn't like Rain, which is super duper prominent in the meta. So overall, I think it's a good bond and can have some really cool utility, but I'm not super duper in love with it. Incineroar is obviously S tier. Probably like here. Mungus here, I would say. That seems about right. Do I want to Mungus higher than it? I think you could interchange these two, but obviously it's Incineroar. We all know what it does. It's super good. It's amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I'm using Incineroar every day of the week. Primarina is good. I'm going to put it high A tier. I don't think it's quite S tier material, but it is incredibly good. 1, 2, 3, 6. Yeah, that's actually funny. So I can throw a Rillaboom in here and you have a really solid team. But it gets Haze. You can use again. It just like falls muster to a lot of the common archetypes in the meta. Sneasler, super effective. Rain, Archaludon, super effective. That kind of stuff. So its typing really kind of hurts it, but its ability is really good. Its stats are pretty good. Overall, it's a pretty solid Pokemon. For some reason, Oranguru was in the list. Okay. But I guess I don't see a reason to use it over a lot of other Trick Room setters. You get Instruct, which is pretty cool. So you could do like, you know, Weakness Policy. But you can just do that with Dusclops, with like Mach Punch or something. I do think Sableye is better because you don't have to use up your ability to not have Fake Out. But it is super bulky. I think it goes in F tier. I think it's I don't understand the desire for a Oranguru personally. I don't see its utility. I could probably be convinced otherwise, but overall I'm not too sold on this Pokemon. Komo suffers also quad weak to Fairy, but is an Iron Defense Body Press, which I think is cool. I tried it in the GC, and I like it. I like the idea of it, but in practice it is a bit tough because there is things to counter its standard Terra types of Fire and Steel. I want to put it lower than Milotic because I'm such a fan of that Pokemon, but it definitely should be like high C tier, low B tier. And so I'm going to put it around here somewhere. I think Hydreigon serves like that supportive role better, but without like super common, like basically without being able to stop Moonblast with your ability, which there is Moonblast, but not a lot of the Fairy types running it run Moonblast. They're going to run things like Dazzling Gleam. It's just like a little less, you know. Rillaboom is S tier, obviously probably higher than Blood Moon, but not as high as Base or Saluna. I think Rillaboom becomes more prominent when terrain is a bigger thing in the meta. That's why it's like incredible in Regulation G and I and probably J, because you can counter Miraidon with it super duper effectively. But in a meta like this, where it's grassy terrain or psychic terrain, it's great. I mean, it's an incredibly good Pokemon. I'm not going to say it's not that, but overall, I don't think it gets us a higher spot in the S tier than you would if perhaps I made a Regulation I tier list. Corviknight is good. It's interesting. It only has, two weaknesses in electric and fire. I definitely think it's like a B tier Pokemon. I'd probably put it under these two. I love Corviknight. Again, one of my favorite Pokemon, but Mirror Armor is great. But it just doesn't have the immediate offense that sometimes you want in your flying type, because if it takes too long to set up, or if you use one of your standard Terras like Fire or Dragon, then the rain comp makes it a lot harder. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Hatterene is good. Psy Spam is good. Magic Bounce is good. We'll go high B tier. I just think like Trick Room Psy Spam is pretty easy to counter now, because you can just like have too much offense out the gate, especially with like spread moves. But overall, I think you can make an argument for A tier here, but I'm going to put it high B tier just because I don't understand some of the future utility. Plus, it only runs like basically one set, you know, and I think these Pokemon have variations that you could do to make them even more unique and useful. Grimmsnarl is good. I think in a low power format like this, screens isn't as vital. I have one Prankstermon in D tier and one in A tier, so I think Grimmsnarl's sitting in... I don't think it goes B tier, C tier. I think it's B tier, and it's probably like here. I think as utility, Magmar is better, but I still like Grimmsnarl in this, and I think overall it's pretty good. Okay, we have the two Indeedys now, and I don't think they sit in the same tier either. With the speed and immediate offense of Indeedee Male, I want it to be low A tier. I think if you can just like enable Sneasler with that Psychic Seed, deal a bunch of damage, kind of do what you need to do, and then go from there, that's really fantastic. If this was Regulation G, J, or I would actually put female Indeedee higher. But because we don't need that support, we need kind of some of that faster offense in a lower power format like Regulation H, I'd probably put female Indeedee like here, high B tier, just because it's not dealing the damage you need it to. It can get outpaced pretty quickly, especially again in like rain comps and stuff like that. But overall, I don't think this Indeedee provides the exact same utility, but has that offense option as well. Arcalodon is obviously S tier. I'm going to put it right below Sneasler. We all know what it do. It's really annoying. Kind of wish they never made this Pokemon. It's like these are a couple Pokemon I wish weren't there at all, but overall, I don't think I need to talk about what Arcalodon can do in this meta with its abilities and its signature move. Dragapult is A tier for sure. Probably higher than... something like here. Somewhere in this like middle to lower A tier. It started out incredibly strong at the beginning of Regulation H and then kind of waned near the end, because people just started prepping counterplay into it. You know, you saw like Terra Fairy, Rage Powder, Amoonguss, stuff like that. But overall, it's always going to be good. It's the fastest Pokemon in the meta, not including Unburdened, Sneasler, that kind of stuff. But I think it's really... But I personally, I think it's starting to drop just because people have to respect it so much that they're getting ready for it. Meowscarada, I wish, but the meta is just not there for it. I'd stick it like... here in C tier. I like Meowscarada, again, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, but it's, I mean, Sneasler exists and just hard walls it. Arcalodon being there, Porygon, you know, Dragonite, like all of these, like walls, you know what I mean? Like kind of walls, like it's just like the S tier Pokemon just hard counter Meowscarada, which just drops it significantly. Palmon is the niche pick. I'll put it C tier, but I'll put it higher than basically everything else. I like it. It's cool. It has a couple of gimmicks that you could do for it, but overall there are faster fighting types that you can use. There's more powerful electric types that you can use. It just kind of gets outclassed unless you need it to fill up a particular niche in its meta. Low A tier for Armarouge. I said that it was better. Actually, I said that it was better something. Like I was like, oh, Chandelure. So actually, then I can probably put it here. I'm going to put it in B tier behind Hatterene. You get the Size Spam, you get the Dazzling Gleam, you get the Trick Room. This one, you get the Flash Fire utility, but overall, these two are pretty similar, but I just think Hatterene has a bit more... Actually, I guess if you want to go in terms of flexibility, Armor Rouge has more flexibility because you can run like weak armor sets like I did in that one GC, but if I had to pick, like, I guess in terms of usefulness, I guess Hatterene with Magic Bounce is a little bit more useful. Kilowattrel is cool, maybe a little slept on in my opinion, especially in Best of 1 with this variety of really useful abilities, but it's incredibly frail. It's quite fast though. I'd probably put it B tier, probably bottom of B tier. I think there actually could be some more exploration with this Pokemon that would get it knocked up a little bit higher, but I'm not familiar with what exactly to do with it. Toedsquirrel, kind of gimmicky, again, with Wolf Glick made it really, really good, but it's only on one particular archetype and you never see it anywhere else. Its ability makes it stink. I'm going to put it in D, like upper echelon D tier. If this was pairings, like this plus Weezing, it would probably go like high B tier, but it as a mon alone will go into upper D tier. Lamora is good. I like Lamora. You have the Toxic Spikes options. You can kind of punish passive plays with Mortal Spin. It's solid. It's going to be B tier, but it's going to be lower than Gallade. It's going to be somewhere like, you know, upper to mid B tier, which I think it's really, really good. Quad weak to ground is a little frustrating, but if you can start poisoning stuff, it works really, really well. Flamigo had kind of a renaissance in Regulation H. There was that point where you were seeing a lot of Sash, Scrappy Flamingo, so you could close combat into Golden Go. So I think its utility is there. Wide Guard is really good. You have to use Terra. If Scrappy was like Inner Focus and you couldn't flinch, I think this would be an S tier level Pokemon. But because you have to expend Terra in order to stop Fake Out, it's definitely A tier. I'd put it higher than these for sure. I'd probably put it like here, like middle to upper A tier. I think you can make an argument to put it a little higher, but it literally, if it just didn't flinch from Fake Out, it would probably go like here. But because of that specifically, I would have put it like a bit more modestly in A tier. So Dondozo, as a standalone against Tatsugiri, will rank far higher than Tatsugiri will be, because obviously there's the Dozo-Giri combo, which I've played on the channel quite a bit lately, but there was also solo Dozo sets, you know, with Yawn, Fissure, Wave Crash, Protect, Terra Bug, Leftovers, Unaware, that kind of stuff. So solo Dozo saw a resurgence near the end in like kind of standard balance play, and that made it really, really good. So I would actually put it like, I'm gonna do high B. Who has more? Well, we're gonna say low A tier actually. It's good. You know, it does what it does. Haze exists, which kind of stops Dozo-Giri a lot, but if you can get rid of the Haze users, it's pretty incredible, especially in these lower power formats. And so because of that, then I can put Tatsugiri in like, I'd actually say low B tier. You never see Tatsugiri alone. You'd see solo Dozo, you like never see solo Tatsu, but it's still a good Pokemon. Like once it leaves Dozo's mouth, it's still solid. It does exactly what you need to do. Muddy Water, Draco Meteor, Icy Wind, Helping Hand, like all of these moves are really incredible. It's a really fantastic Pokemon. Baxcalibur, I think, is one of the most underplayed Pokemon in Regulation H, and it's not even close. It's got the highest attack stat and the highest HP stat out of any pseudo-legendary. Its typing defensively is meh, but it offensively is incredible. You don't really care about using your Terra on this Pokemon. I think it's high A tier. Like, if we're going to stick it somewhere where I think we go, like, I'm going to make it, I want it A tier. A little more play, it could probably get into S tier. I think this Pokemon is vastly underexplored in Regulation H. We should be playing with it more. It should be doing better. And I personally am making an effort to see if I can do that with this Pokemon. I like it so much. Okay, we have two left. Golden Go, S tier. Probably higher than Amoonguss, honestly. Good as gold, is broken. Its typing is incredible. You know, at Hardwall Sneasler, and except they gave it Throat Chop because, you know, we're cooked, I guess. I don't know. It's overall really, really, really good. And Sinistra as well, I think, is underexplored. I'd probably put it like upper A tier. I played probably lower, probably somewhere around like here. Again, Hardwall's Ursaluna, which is a pretty big, is a prominent player in the meta, helps into the rain matchup quite a bit. You can Terra It's really bulky. It heals up your Pokemon. It's overall, it's really, really good. I like it a lot, and I think it was also pretty underexplored in Regulation H. So that's all of the Pokemon. So do I still agree with my rankings? Let me take a look here. I don't think I disagree with the placement in any of the, like, legends that I've put them in. Maybe, like, where they lie in there. Do I think that... Are there any additional F-tier Pokemon? That's kind of my question. I think I actually do. Okay, so I want to put Palmot up here, but Kilowattrel here. Thinking about these two, Palmot definitely has more utility than Kilowattrel. It should be higher than Kilowattrel on the list for sure. I think that's the big thing. Talonflame is higher, which is good. No, yeah. I like this tier list. I think something akin to this is pretty accurate. I think you could justify like swapping a couple things around here and there, but overall I think this gives you kind of the gist of how good I think these Pokemon are going to be in the Resurgence to Regulation H. So if you agree, if you disagree, please feel free to comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you like this style of video. I'd love to hear it. But ultimately, I just want to thank y'all so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and become a channel member. But most importantly, enjoy this weekend. I will not be releasing a video on Sunday. Instead, I will be co-streaming with all of the VG finals. So juniors, seniors, and masters, watching, just having some fun, talking, and enjoying Pokemon. I mean, I like Pokemon. So I just want to enjoy that with y'all. Be really fun, so stop on by. But I just wanted to make this kind of sillier little, like, fun video that's, I think, is educational, still in a sense, and that way you don't have to watch more battle content, because I'm sure we're going to be battle content out by the end of the weekend. But thank you all so much for watching, and please remember that you are appreciated. All right, peace.